What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All cash, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All cash, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos.
Welcome to episode 24 of the All Gas No Brakes podcast. Today I'm here with two coaches who probably have no clue how closely related or similar they are. Both have won state championships in high school. Both went to Purdue University. Both of them started coaching football before they exited Purdue University, and they both coached the defensive side of the football, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about today. So I'm with defensive line coach and associate head coach Craig Henderson and newly promoted defensive coordinator Jared Shanley. So how's it going now that you're the big dog? You've been moved up, man. Like, now you're in charge. What's that like?
Well, just had spring practice number 2 last night. The second practice went much better than the first, I think, to be expected. But truthfully, it's been easy with coaches like Coach Hendo and the other guys that we have on staff. It's been a pretty smooth transition, truthfully. Okay,
and then just for knowledge purposes for the audience, what does an associate head coach even do or mean?
Essentially, I do all the things that Pat doesn't want to do.
Okay.
No, I try to take as much off his plate as I can. Just the things you don't really realize that go into running a program. It's so much stuff, and it's too much for one person to do. And I try to do a lot of that. Coach Jarrett's really good about helping with that stuff too. Just try to make things run smoothly. I take care of the managers. It was a few years ago. We were at a game, and one of the managers came to Coach Shanley with something that could have waited.
Yeah.
And we know how Pat can be on game day.
Yep.
And he just lost it.
Yep.
I mean, he lost it. I was like, I probably should take care of this from now on, so nobody gets their butts ripped on game day.
And it has gotten a ton smoother. And I will say this: I think the filming and organization at practice has gotten exponentially more efficient. And you still have your moments because they're high schoolers, but I feel like it's gotten way, way better.
And I'm gonna give a shout out to, I call her my oldest daughter, Adrian Banks. She came back last year after graduating and was basically like a coach for the managers, and she was phenomenal. And she's going to UND next year. She's going to manage there. I know she's going to do great things, but she really kind of laid the blueprint for what a Jeff manager should be, and we're just kind of running with that.
Cool. So talking about defensive staff real quick, because I know Pat would kill me if we didn't talk about the 97 defensive coaches we have on staff and their accomplishments. And what made me realize as an offensive coach, I'm like, hey, we haven't accomplished nearly as much as you guys have as a staff. So DC, went to Purdue, been coaching since you were in college. You played at Purdue, been coaching since you were in college, have a lot of experience. Both have produced numerous college athletes. Run me down some of the other guys on staff and some of their accomplishments.
So Coach Getz, he has been coaching football longer than I've been alive.
Leather helmet era, correct?
Yeah, he's been a head coach previously. Coach Tice Jackson, he's new on staff. He has coordinator experience. He played in college. Coach Koger, he played at Ball State.
Yep.
Jeff Grad.
Yep, Jeff Grad. Coach Edwards has been around the block. He has been coaching for a while too, probably longer than I've been alive.
Head girls track coach as well for track, so he has head coach experience on top of that.
Okay.
Coach K, Coach Kraybom, he played in college as well. He played O-line, I think, in college. Mm-hmm. We just added Tavion Woodard, graduate of Westside. He played at Ball State and then played at Boise State.
I'm well aware of Mr. Woodard. He was a giant headache when we had to coach against him, a giant headache.
Also a state champion at West Lafayette as well.
He was.
Yep.
And then Coach BP, can't forget Coach BP, he played in NFL for a number of years, and his knowledge is just the way he sees football is just different.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about where he played high school football. It's just he's here now, right?
He's on the right side of the tracks.
He's here now. Are we missing anybody? I'm trying to think. That Seth Jones got added in. Yep.
Also played college football. He's a Jeff alum.
Yep.
A lot of high-quality guys on staff.
For sure. So my question would be, and this is something that I get the question a lot on the offensive side, and maybe directly you can answer this, like how does it work having 3 collegiate defensive linemen that are now coaching the D-line group, like ego-wise, how does that work? And I'm not saying you guys have egos, but I'm just like, there has to be opinions and how does that all kind of work? And Coach K's in there too. Shoot, there's 4 of them, right? So how does that work? How do you guys disseminate what you're going to teach them and not teach them? And
That's a good question. The best thing about it is there's no egos amongst the D-line coaches. And the good thing is, like, with so much experience at high levels, there's sometimes 3 different ways we can teach it. So, where you may have a player, who understands it the way I would have taught it from Purdue. Then you may have another player who understands the way BP taught it from his time at UTSA or in the league. Or you may have, like yesterday, yesterday was really nice to see Coach Woodard, second practice, jumping in, and guys like Ethan Wilson and Deion Rush really gravitating to what he was teaching them, and they're understanding it a little bit more by the way he's teaching it. So it's just the good thing is I think everybody's really good at putting their egos aside, and it's what we need to do to fit the defensive scheme and what we need to do to be successful.
Okay, how is it working for you? Linebacker coach for your entirety of your coaching career here, you're handing that off.
Yeah.
So, not that you're like Pat, but when Pat had to hand off the passing game to me, it wasn't like a necessarily smooth transition initially, right? Because me and him both really believe in what we're doing, and eventually we're on the same page and stuff. But like, how is that for you watching somebody else? You ever get the urge to just kind of jump in and want to like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the first time I met with Coach Jackson, I told him, I said, it's going to be tough for me to sit back and not kind of step on your toes. So, it's hard. Like, I want to be kind of in the fire right there. I want to be in the drills with them, but you also got to empower your coaches to do what they know how to do. And thankfully, Coach Jackson's doing a great job through spring practice number 2. It's pretty awesome to see some of the drills that he's putting the kids through, and the kids are buying into what he's coaching.
I really struggled when I got that coordinator tag, being the big picture guy, like stepping back and looking at the entire process. Like I was so like when I coached quarterbacks forever, I was just right here. This is who I'm focusing on. Are you having some of those moments where you're like, oh shoot, I should have been like watching the entirety and instead of like focusing on one specific thing?
I don't know. Like I coach my first year coaching. I coached with Coach Hendo on the D line. So I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know. I think having that experience with Coach Hendo for a couple of years and being with Coach Gronk previously, who left, I think that helped a ton too, because he taught me a lot about football and about the back end. So I don't know. I think knowing all 3 levels of the defense come from a variety of different people and different experiences throughout I think this is year 10.
Okay.
Year 10 or 11, I'm not sure. But, yeah, a lot of different experiences from a lot of different coaches have been good.
And you guys, I don't get to watch a lot of your games or when you play. I'm not watching a lot of defense because I'm usually doing offense-related stuff. But what I do know is you guys have produced a lot of elite-level athletes. The D-line specifically from Jeff in the last decade, the amount of Division I athletes you guys have produced. But, Michael Lillard's at Ball State. One of my favorite football players of all time, your former linebacker, Scouting.
Yep.
One of my favorite kids just to be around in general. I taught him when he was in middle school. I'm assuming you're fielding the same problems we're fielding right now offensively. How do you sustain it, and how do you replace it? Because we try to be in that reload, not rebuild mode. So how does that work? I mean, you're replacing quite a bit. The all-time leading sack producer, Scouting's one of the best middle linebackers we've had since I've been here. So how are you planning to replace all of that production?
Well, I know, like, D-line wise, you can't replace A&H. Like, that's a generational talent. But, the blessing is we have Chris Hardy, who is another D1 kid whose stock is rising. And then you have kids like Robert McKinney, who's really coming on. And after a great wrestling season, I mean, he looks like a freaking action figure out there, and he's leading the right way. You try to build a system in place where you don't have to rebuild, or the expectation, so guys know what they need to do coming in, and then you just try to help them take that expectation and now let's build on it, let's be elite. And I think we have guys who want to be that way, and it goes man, this goes back all the way back to, back when, Coach Moore was here, and we were really starting to build the thing. And, we set the expectation then. And guys like DeLeon Holmes from years ago kind of, set the tone of what our D-line was going to be like. And then you saw Peyton Price and Big Homie, DeMarco Cross and Caden Souders really take that D-line to become elite. And I think, now it's an expectation of Jeff. We're going to be good up front. Mm-hmm. That's going to be, I tell our guys all the time, as we go as a D-line, that's how our defense goes. And I think our guys take pride in that. So they want to be great because of that.
In terms of the rest of the defense, I mean, we return both of our outside backers. We return 3 out of the 4 on our secondary. Inside backers, we got to replace Scouting. He's going to be a tough one. A couple other guys, Ben Pickering, Blake Gordon, got to replace them. But we got a lot of bodies, got a lot of competition, and that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we felt about it offensively. It's I think me and you are so similar with some of the things we coach. I tell the receivers all the time, I'm like, look, the offense doesn't function without us. Like, we got it. Like, we carry the momentum going forward. And I have a similar problem of always having to replace Brian Jenkins and Omar Williams. Like, the list goes. And part of it is some coaches are like, oh, Warner's complaining he's got to replace. He's always got him. Why are you whining? But like, it is something that you have to be cognizant of, because it's really crazy how quickly the program can dip if you're not vigilant about the system, the scheme, the philosophies involved, the way you're coaching, the intentionality of it. And, for me, like with receivers, like this whole motto it always sounds dumb when you say it out loud, but like we're really big on like you have to get 6. So anytime you catch the ball, you're getting 6+ yards or you're scoring a touchdown, right? And it sounds like a dumb motto, but we're really trying to drive home that like we're trying to be efficient on every play. But if I tell the kids like, hey, we're trying to be efficient, go catch the ball, be efficient, they're just going to ignore me. So we come up with these silly phrases. Like what's something like that with defense? Like what is a philosophy, right? Not scheme stuff, but like what's a philosophy? What's something you look for to instill in your kids that is like D-block oriented?
So really, our main focus over the first couple spring practices have been effort in the ball. So 100% effort, no loafs, getting from point A to point B with a relentless attitude, and then taking the ball away. So we got these cool $1 little wristbands. I think the kids are kind of eating that up. They're enjoying it. So they're really placing an emphasis, or we're placing an emphasis on them taking the ball away, getting a pig, punching at the football. The kids are buying into it. So.
Like up front, I say in our handbooks, the first thing it says is relentless pursuit. It's a non-negotiable. If you don't pursue the ball, you don't play at Lafayette Jeff. And we're going to get 11 to the ball. And also up front, violence. Coach BP. Yeah. If you come to a game, you've probably heard Coach BP just yelling violence, and our D-line is taking that to heart. We want to be violent and physical up front. We want to hit people in the mouth. My defensive coordinator in high school used to come up and say, at the end of a game, I just want a coach to come up and say, man, your guys are physical. Mm-hmm. And if a coach tells me that about my D-line, I'm happy. That's what I want to be.
I think there was a game last year up in the press box, and we were inside. I forget which one it was. It's a road game. But either way, you could hear our guys yelling violence. And we're all the way up in the press box, and you could hear the D-lineman yelling that from the sideline. It was kind of cool. So you both know I played quarterback. And D linemen are typically my least favorite human beings on the planet. Then corners are in the next one. But I hadn't had that like D line fear in me in a long time. And I want to say it might have been BP's second or third game on staff, and he walked up behind me and very quietly said violence in my ear, and I had this weird like shudder in my body, dude. So I get where you guys are coming with that whole like violence thing. That's definitely not necessarily an offensive mindset. So is there any other things, like I know we've gone through phrases and sayings, and by the way, those wristbands got Pat all jealous, and now I'm sure we're going to have to do something offensively. We have a bunch of mottos with the team in general. Like the one that I remember from years ago, the hungry dogs run fast, and we don't have them all printed, and everybody always be like, what does the acronym mean? Do you guys have any of those kind of mottos defensively? The only one, the wristbands say it, TNT, takes no talent, right? It takes no talent to give 100% effort. It takes no talent to punch and rake at a football. So we got to be good at the things that take no talent in order to be good defensively. Well,
I tell you, the defensive guys have taken the whole punching and raking thing and run with it, because my receivers complain about it constantly. I want to say it was maybe Nadarius yesterday caught a hitch and turn, 3 guys on him, and I just am seeing hands going like this. And I would never say Nadarius is a complainer ever, but he definitely wasn't satisfied with that happening. And that's what you want, right? As defensive coaches, you want the offensive players getting annoyed that you're doing those effort things, right? That's why I always tell them about blocking. Like if the DBs, like Michigan City last year, start turning and running away, then you know you're doing your job right. So that's got to make you kind of happy when you go back and watch film and you see those things happening.
Spring practice number 2 was much better than spring practice number 1 in terms of that. I think we made that clear in our pre-practice meeting that we needed to get better during spring practice number 2 compared to the first one, and thankfully it saw some progress on film.
Okay. How's spring ball work for O-line, D-line stuff? It's got to be annoying, right? Because it's not padded. Like you can only do so much. So like, what's the emphasis for the D-line?
Right now, my thing is I want to teach them the flow of practice. So, like, I want them to understand, how it's going to work. We're going to come out in the field. We're going to do how our EDDs work. I'm teaching the steps to block recognition. We can't really do it fully because we don't have pads on. But that way, when we get to the season, we get to the summer, and I say, all right, let's work down blocks. They know what to do. We're teaching how to set up one-on-ones with the offensive line. We can't really go one-on-ones because I'm not a big fan of one-on-ones without pads on.
Yeah.
But at least now we can, when we go to one-on-ones like for College Day, we know how to line up. We'll make it look good. That's what we want to make sure. So they're getting the floor practice, and they understand that we run everywhere we go. Okay. Yesterday we saw a little bit of walking. Mm-hmm. It was spring ball. I promised myself I'm not going to do any yelling and screaming during spring ball. Save that for the summer. But
I made it 2 practices. I told myself the same thing. I made it to second practice.
Yeah. Small victories. Those are small victories. If we keep walking, third practice, Coach Hendo might blow up. But just want to make sure they understand the way our practice is going to be ran.
I just want to let you know, I heard Coach Cruz talking to the offensive line. He said this year, not holding it all. So you don't even have to worry about looking for it because he doesn't plan on doing it. Okay. So you can just check that one off your list of things to not worry about.
Okay.
So
no holding. Okay.
Yep. And if it does happen, go talk to Cruz.
Hey, you guys heard him say it. So, so hold him accountable for that.
It's on the record.
It's on the record. Yeah. I have permission to speak for Cruzwick. I've been told. So I was telling you guys beforehand. I was digging through. I don't ever look at your stuff. Last year's unit is 1-2 in like every category we record, from pressures, PBUs, tackles for loss. Even you guys were up there in takeaways because of all of the strips and fumble recoveries, which was higher than our normal thing. Do you guys, as a staff, ever just sit down and like set goals like that? Like, do you sit there and say, hey, we'd like to maintain this pressure rate. I would like to get to this amount. Or do you guys kind of just let that organically happen?
I would say that's a tough question. I would say during the off season, we look at like what we did well, what we didn't, and obviously all those stats that you mentioned are definitely a part of that. But I think we're more focused on like the day-to-day and what we're doing day-to-day and getting better each and every practice, at least this time of year. But yeah, absolutely, we're going to look at the data during the season. We're going to highlight the things that we did well, and we're going to address the things that we didn't do well. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Kind of. I mean, yeah. I mean, it does. It is a weird question because because here's what I've learned about every coach ever. Behind a closed door, you will brag about the accomplishments that you have, but you don't want to come out and say it where you don't want to sound like you're bragging or overindulging in the fact that you set the sack record last year. Yeah. So I understand all of that. So let's pretend for a second we're behind the closed doors, and do you and your unit, like when you talk about the D line, do you set a goal? And it doesn't have to be like breaking the record, but are you setting goals like, hey, this year we're going to go get 20 sacks as a unit? Like, do you do those type of things?
Every year we go in with we have a game goal, how many sacks we want to get per game. For me, it's not even just sacks. I want to see us disrupt the quarterback. I'm looking for like 6 disruptions of a quarterback a game.
How do you measure a disruption?
Like that's a hurry. Like, so if the quarterback throws the ball before they're ready, or we hit the quarterback, to me, that's a disruption. So if, we throw pressure and he has to throw it away fast, to us, that's a disruption. It's not as good as a sack, but it's as good as a sack. We can force that incomplete. We can force a bad throw that leads into a pick. For us, that's a win up front. So we are kind of tracking those. Each week I want to see that, and, we're trying to make sure we tailor things we do to do that. So we're, finding the person on the offensive line who we can exploit, who we think is going to be good for that. So we do kind of track. Each week we have goals we want to get. We want to track those things. But
so you're talking about, and it's like I'm starting to figure out the theme now, right? So like I'm asking you about a physical stat in the sack, and you're like disregarding it. And the thing you seem to be talking to me about is a more of an effort-driven thing. Like you're talking about 6 disruptions. You can do that with effort and not necessarily result like as far as like taking the quarterback down, right? So that's kind of, it seems like one of the things you're driving home a lot with the defense. Was that similar for linebackers? Did you guys have a category that you're trying to make sure you're checking that box each game that's measurable, or?
Not necessarily for the linebackers specifically. They got graded each and every game, each and every week, and their goal is to always get 90% or above. It's a tough goal for them to reach. But I would say, we're going to look at things like takeaways. Like, we have a certain number of takeaways we want to get every game, get a certain number of, get off the field downs. We want to hit a certain percentage. So, there's certain stats that we're going to look at, not necessarily by position groups, but, as a defense as a whole.
Okay, I'm going to ask you 2 last questions, right? Because I don't want to keep Mr. Long here any longer than he has to be. Because I appreciate him, by the way. We've never said this on the podcast. Really appreciate you doing this.
Yep.
He doesn't have to do it. He does it for us.
For sure.
Shout out Mr. Long and the whole department in general. So 2 questions. One, if you guys had to hang your hat on one thing as a defensive unit, this is who we are, what we do, what is that?
stopping the run.
Stopping the run.
Okay.
Yep.
And so that's the week in, week out, we're going to do this no matter what. That's our plan.
Yep, that's our goal. We're going to stop the run, try and keep teams in front of us. We know our offense is going to score some points. I think they have a history of doing that. You know that as well as we do. But we're going to try and stop the run, keep teams in front of us, limit the explosives.
Okay. And then second question, which is more of I love this question just because I'm a dummy. The mayor took it the other way. You can take it whichever direction. You can take good or bad. What is your favorite moment from your football career or coaching career? You can say one way or the other. Mayor Wozorski told a story about him making a play and then him immediately getting stripped as he was making the play. And most people have talked about a really positive thing. You both can't say your state titles. I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear either something individual to you or something in your coaching career that you hold in high regard.
Oh, man. So I would say probably I don't know if I'd say best memory, but the most memorable. We were playing at West Lafayette. It was probably my first or second year coaching, and coaching with my brother. Obviously, brothers are not necessarily nice to each other, but I was talking on the defensive headset.
Oh, no.
And I was talking to the defensive staff, and I don't even remember what we were talking about, but it was something productive. And our head coach, my brother, he decided to flip over from the offense to the defensive headset.
Accidentally.
By
the way, Pat has no idea how to operate the headset. So
Yep, he flipped over accidentally, and I got my butt chewed pretty good, even though I did absolutely nothing wrong. And now here we are, I don't know, 8 or 10 years later, and I'm not sure I've gotten an apology ever. Don't think I ever will, but that's probably the most memorable story.
Well, the good news is it's on record for permanent now, so now he's going to have to acknowledge it at some point, I would assume. Okay, that is a good one. Okay, Hendo?
Playing-wise, it would be my senior year. We're playing at Ben Davis. Me and my best friend get ready to run into the game, and on our sideline is Edgerrin James and Reggie Wayne just casually watching our game. And, we're getting ready to go in. I'm like, is that Edgerrin James and Reggie Wayne? And yeah, it is. What up, Edge? What up, Reggie? We ran out of field. We're all excited, and they bet $10,000 on our game.
That's insane.
Edgerrin James on our highlight tape, commenting about us playing in the game, which was pretty cool.
2 Miami legends who were at the Colts at the time.
And then
that's crazy.
Coaching-wise, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but this year watching Aiden get 4 sacks against Harrison, that for one, it's Harrison. 2, the connection Aiden and I have, and that was just, it was pretty sweet watching him ball out that game like that. That was pretty cool.
It's I have two stories about you two that are my favorite moments of you two. They'll be super quick. Jared likes to ignore me when he's in the booth. That will be gone this year.
I'm good at that.
And you guys went to block a punt on 4th and Forever.
At Lake Central.
At Lake Central.
Yep.
Ran into the punter. I'm losing my mind because the offense was rolling. You guys proceed to stop them 3 times in a row. We go to punt again. I'm still fuming. What do you guys do?
Steve and Stephanie.
Blocks the punt. And Jared goes, that's why we do that. He didn't acknowledge anything beforehand, like he had heard any of it, puts it on and goes right back. I was even more upset after that. That was pretty good. But my favorite Hendo moment, he probably wouldn't think of this, but having spoke of the headsets made me think of this. I and Coach Sewell and Coach Edwards take care of the headsets. We condition them, take them, make sure they're operating. When we beat Lake Central in overtime to go to the sectional championship game in 22, defense made a play. And I should have known that some nonsense was going to happen. And I see Coach Hendo, the fastest I've ever seen him move, in a dead sprint to the other end zone, and his headset go flying into the air. And the only thing I can think of at this time after we just won a thrilling game was, no, because I was going to have to fix it the next week. So, and by the way, didn't pull a hammy. Impressive, because you were hauling. So we end the podcast. Moody counts from 5. I'm a 3-count guy. We're going to count down to 3, and we're going to say, let's go Broncos. You guys got it?
Let's go Broncos.
All right, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Let's go Broncos.
What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All cash, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos, let's go. All cash, no brakes, LJ for air, let's play. What we rep, Lafayette, Jeff, Broncos,